Bueno, gente, para variar un poquitito este Halloween, sí, este especial de terror, no quería traer solamente juegos, así que vamos a estar viendo terror analógico. Muchos me han dicho en su momento que miremos Vita Carnis, es un video de terror analógico del estilo este de Smile Tapes que hemos visto, que por cierto, bueno, van a tener el video al final en los recomendados, en aleatorio. Y quería avisarles que este video, Pato se tomó todo el trabajo de traducirlo, absolutamente todo de principio a final, y que tiene este canal que se llama Mad Pat Terror, parezco sector, boludo. Mad Pat Terror, es que tiene muchas T, boludo. Bueno, suscríbanse porque Pato va a estar subiendo videos de terror traducidos, sobre todo terror analógico. Así que bueno, vamos a arrancar, guachines. Vita Carnis,
Canal.
Mad Pat Art. Bueno, el arte es fácil porque tiene la A, Mad Pat Art, pero Mad Pat Terror es como...
No, pero muchos se traban ya en el pad
Claro.
y quedan ahí.
Igual estoy medio
On planet
congestionado,
Earth,
así que ahora vamos a...
life has thrived for millions of years. Creatures big and small have found ways to adapt and evolve to flourish in all types of environments.
Ok.
From barren wastes to lush forests, life can be found. Earth has homed these
¿Pasó el vecino?
Sí, sí.
Preguntale si quiere venir a ver el video con nosotros, boludo.
Y no lo va a entender.
creatures
En
since the
fin,
dawn of
una
life
moto de
itself.
mierda.
Only until very recently, things have changed. New life forms have appeared all around the globe and completely changing the balance of
¿Qué son,
nature and what we
headcrabs?
know about
Damn.
evolution itself. That is why we, at National Living Meat Research, have been studying these new species, trying to help educate everyone about these creatures and their wondrous ways of life. First, what are these new life forms? Since their explosive arrival across the globe in 1931, there has
¿Se escucha bien o se escucha muy fuerte? ¿Chat? Ok, está bien.
been much debate on what these newcomers are and where they
Yo
came
tengo
from.
200, bro.
Are they extraterrestrials coming to invade Earth? Or are they demons who come from hell to purge humanity?
Bueno, ya empezamos
From
con
what our
algo turbio, boludo.
scientists have discovered, no. The origins of these creatures are solely to Earth, miraculously
Ok.
out of nowhere.
De momento sabemos
We
que de la
don't
nada
know
en la
why
Tierra
or how,
surgió,
but
se creó
one
una
thing is for
criatura.
certain, Earth is now their home. What these creatures are is mysterious and still not well known today. But here is what we do know. These creatures are comprised mainly of muscle tissue, organs, and bones. They greatly resemble animals with no skin, or store-bought meat. Because of these
No, bueno, re turbio.
characteristics, they have been named accordingly as Vita Carnis.
Vita Carnis se
The
llaman, son
Carnis
criaturas.
species consume decaying, organic matter, but their main diet is composed of raw meat, not including their Carnis relatives. The Carnis only appear in places where there is an abundance of crawl, which leads to the first creature of the Carnis species, the crawl. The crawl is a growth of meaty tendrils that closely resemble the small intestine, the only difference being the dark red coloration. These tendrils grow in a similar pattern as vines, mold, or fungi. A
Banco la
primary
radio del
stem
Fallout 3,
structure
eh.
is the host to divisions of other, smaller branches. In each tendril contains a variety of veins, arteries,
Porque no
and
tiene
other
derecho.
similar organs used to transport nutrients absorbed from its surroundings.
Quedó muy vieja ya.
The ends of these tendrils are equipped with organelles used to absorb water and organic matter necessary for growth. The source of these organic materials is mainly found in dirt and soil on surrounding surfaces. Using its root-like tendrils, it absorbs the material and processes it into usable energy. Although, the crawl also obtains energy through another means. Using a sophisticated form of
Ahí
photosynthesis,
está usando una
Hijo de
forma...
perra.
Tranqui, usando una sofisticada forma de... ahora nos está explicando
Fotosíntesis.
cómo funciona el bicho este que nació de la nada en el planeta Tierra como si fuese una especie
No
más de
olvidé.
animal. No se olviden que estos videos primero nos explican y después viene la parte heavy.
Ajá.
the dark pigmentation of the smaller branches is ideal for absorbing sunlight, and therefore allowing solar energy to fuel the crawl's growth. Because of its efficiency, it thrives in almost all types of environments, easily allowing it to spread across the world,
Se
and
adapta a
can
todo,
be
bueno,
found
no me
pretty much
jodas.
anywhere.
Re turbio, bro.
Its recent inclusion in the ecosystem has caused many major changes in nature's balance. One may assume that the crawl's presence may outcompete any other competitors, but due to its unique life cycle, where old branches fall off and decay into nutrient-rich compost, all forms of life seemingly flourish instead.
Fa.
The crawl's abundance grants plenty of nourishment to all animals, from plants feeding on the decayed crawl, herbivores thriving on increased plant population, and carnivores
Esto va
feeding
a
on both
contagiar
the
a todo el
abundant
mundo.
prey, and are able to eat the crawl
El
as
crawl
well.
este.
The presence of all these animals leave behind waste, which will be broken down and consumed by the
No,
crawl, and the
consume
cycle
todo.
begins again. This form of symbiosis leads to an environment where all populations thrive.
Sí, esto va a terminar haciendo pija todo, por más que sea un
Humanity
bug
also
infinito.
uses the crawl to our advantage. Because of the supernatural
Porque
rain of
nos
growth
aprovechamos
and its
nosotros.
richness in nutrients,
Sí.
it has been sustainably cultivated into domestic
Mirá,
farms.
hicieron granjas de
The crawl
crawl.
is harvested and processed into
Oh,
fertilizer, which greatly increases crop yield and quality. The crawl may also be used as a food source for humans, and reliably so. But due to its unkindly appearance and taste, it has yet to reach cuisine standards. The crawl also plays a very important role in the next creatures that
Y
we
debe
have
tener un
been
gusto a
studying.
mierda eso, está hecho con mierda más o menos.
Sometimes, in a crawl-populated environment, a node of meat may develop on one of the branches. This node will fall off and grow into a functioning organism, and go to live on as an
Ah, mirá,
independent animal.
estos son los bichitos.
This leads us to the upcoming species that we will be discussing. The first of these creatures are the trimmings. The trimmings.
The trimmings. Los
Trimmings are
headcrabs.
small animals that
Son como
resemble
garrapatas
skinned
gigantes.
raccoons.
Como
They are
piojo, ¿no?
commonly known to
Sí.
have a plump body, round head, small eyes, nose and ear holes, and an agape mouth. They are also equipped with a diversity of limbs. All individual trimmings are unique.
Sí, está bueno el
each with
concepto,
a
me
different
gusta.
body shape,
Es original.
number of limbs,
Como una
and other
planta de lo que
characteristics.
nacen un par de
One thing
bichardos.
they all share in common is that they are
A mí me
made
hace
mostly of
acordar
meat
a-
tissue
en la
and
Guerra de
are a
los Mundos.
maximum of 20 centimeters
Claro.
in length, no larger than a
Alta peli.
basketball. Its life starts with its separation from the crawl. It will wonder to find anything that is edible and able to consume. Although it is an omnivore, being able to hunt meat and forage for plant
Mira.
matter, trimmings are almost entirely scavengers. Their diet
Comen
consists
todo,
of rotting
básicamente.
plants and meat, including,
cagones.
but not limited to, fruits, vegetables, roots, seeds, insects, and deceased animals.
Todo.
Seguro
Although
vivos
its
también,
appearance
¿eh?
is unsightly, it is a cowardly creature, only fleeing, screeching, and hiding when threatened. Because of its lack of defensive traits, it lies near the bottom of the food chain, making it easily overpowered and picked off very regularly by predators.
Ah, lo hacen mierda igual.
Y sí,
Hasta
es como-
que
Its
venga la
population would
evolución.
eventually die out. This is not the case.
Sí, capita, ¿no?
The crawl constantly produces a large quantity of trimming nodes, keeping up their
Claro,
numbers.
se generan
Naturally,
constantemente.
trimmings
sea,
can be
mucho.
found wherever there is
Mira,
abundant
todos lados.
crawl.
Y sí,
Trimmings
Están en
grow
todos
at a
lados.
decent pace, reaching maturity at around 7 months, having a maximum lifespan of 2 to 4 years.
ah, viven una banda encima.
Although they are plentiful, humanity has no proper way to implement trimmings into
Que amigo,
society.
¿cómo vas a meter ese
Their
bicho raro y
overabundance has
turbio?
even considered them pests,
Mirá,
due
mirá,
to them
los
digging through
perros.
trash bins and making excessive noise at night.
Re molesto encima.
Besides all of this, some people still keep trimmings as pets
No.
and relatively domesticate them.
Mirá la
O sea, lo que
cara.
sabemos de momento es que hay una planta, ¿sí? Una planta
Salió de
que
la nada.
salió de la nada, que está en todas partes del mundo y resiste cualquier calor, frío, lo que sea, y que sirve como fuente de alimento para el ecosistema, tipo para animales, etcétera, inclusive humanos. Y se alimenta de los cuerpos en descomposición de los animales y de las heces. O sea, así es como se mantiene esa planta. Es como todo un ciclo. Es un ciclo, literal. Del árbol sale comida que comen los animales mueren, cagan, vuelve a comer ese árbol, como un ciclo infinito. De ese árbol salen estos bichos que se llaman trimmings, que son como garrapatas gigantes. Eso es lo que sabemos de momento. Yo les voy explicando por si se pierden en alguna parte o no entienden algo.
Or not, trimmings are a wondrous creature. From their plentiful numbers to their skittish nature, they are truly a thing to behold.
Sí, de momento
The
son
next
combatibles,
species on our list is
pero no
the
se
meat
pueden
snake.
extinguir porque hay mucha cantidad. O sea, mucha.
the meat snake.
Esta es la otra forma.
The meat snake is a worm-like creature made of a variety
Ya
of
vamos a algo
types of
más.
meat.
Otra
coated in
variedad,
a
sí, algo un poco más heavy.
skin-like membrane. Its size varies during its lifespan, depending on how much it consumes. When it first separates from the crawl, it is only a few centimeters in
Sí,
length.
después se vuelve una víbora gigante, seguro.
Eventually, it will reach an
5
average length
metros,
of 5
amigo.
meters. Although,
Madre
under
mía.
extreme conditions, like
Cagada
natural
pija.
disasters, war, or plague, it can
No,
greatly
bueno.
surpass this length.
Pero,
The meat snake's diet consists entirely of dead animals or parts. A meat snake is incapable of consuming a healthy, living organism. The meat snake allocates its food
¿para
by
dijo
using a
capaz o incapaz que no llega a leer bien? Ah, incapaz. Ok, solo come animales muertos.
tongue-like organ covered in sensors to touch and feel its environment. The sensors catch particles of decaying meat, notifying the meat snake that there is food nearby. This process shares many similarities to regular snakes, hence the meat snake's name. Once it locates the corpse, the meat snake will open its jaw and swallow the entire body whole. Once the entire body is consumed, the meat snake's stomach will release a variety of chemicals. Some will break down soft tissue like skin, and the connection points between muscles. Others chemicals will then ferment and preserve the tissue to keep it from breaking down for as long as possible. After that, the remaining flesh and bones will move along the meat snake's tract, and slowly be implemented into its own structure, extending the meat snake.
Ah, mira.
Unsatisfactory parts
A medida
like
que va comiendo
skulls,
se va volviendo más
pelvises,
grande.
hair,
Es
and
como el juego de la
fingernails will be
serpiente,
excreted.
literal.
Claro, sí, básicamente.
Speaking of skulls, the meat snake will take the skull from the consumed organism and use it as its own. Each meat snake has its own skull, each corresponding to what that one has
Ah, mira.
consumed.
Mira ese
During its
tercero.
lifespan, it will
¿Qué
swap
esqueleto
or
era ese?
replace
Mira,
these skulls if
¿Cuál?
el tercero que te muestran.
Ah.
El que estaba recién. Ahora, mira.
Speaking of skulls, the meat snake will take the skull from the consumed organism and
No,
use
eso
it as
es
its
un
own.
ciervo,
Each
un alce.
¿Y el tercero?
¿Esto qué es? ¿Un rinoceronte?
Ponele.
Un humano, boludo. Un cráneo humano.
Each snake has its own
Comen
skull,
humanos
each
muertos.
corresponding to what that one has consumed.
Culpa
During
nuestra.
its lifespan, it will swap or replace these skulls if needed.
Está la pija,
A meat snake's lifespan depends entirely on how much a meat snake consumes. The longest one has lived for was 28 years.
No, 28
The
años.
meat snake has no predators and is immune to disease due to its preserving chemicals. The only significant ways a meat snake can die is through starvation, burning, or complete destruction of the meat snake's membrane
Quemadura.
coating. Interestingly, the meat snake is the only
Mira esa
member of the
cosa.
Carnis family that is able to reproduce.
No, encima se
When a meat
reproducen
snake reaches
con...
an excessive size, and is in the conditions to do so, it will commence mitosis,
turbio.
Se
splitting
divide...
itself
No,
in two.
boludo.
Then the now two meat snakes will go on their separate ways and live on as two
Pero
distinct
esto sí que es alta
organisms.
plaga, ¿eh? Imagínate si existe, hay que
Meat
exterminarlo.
snakes can only be found in
Mira.
moderate temperature climates, not too hot, not too cold. Their
Verga.
population depends entirely on the amount of corpses available. Where there is death, there are meat snakes. Humanity will use them to our advantage. Meat
En su
snakes are a
beneficio,
very
¿eh?
efficient and clean way of disposing of any meat products.
Sí,
The preserving
que anda a
fluids
cagar,
in the
boludo.
meat snake's body disinfects the carrion, preventing the spread of disease. Humans use meat snakes in butcher shops as a waste bin, dispose roadkill, within war on the battlefield to dispose of festering bodies and parts,
Eso
and
es
within
recuerdo.
zoos to dispose of deceased animals.
En la guerra, sí, sí, para limpiar los
They are
cadáveres, boludo.
extremely tame, not caring if any creature is around them, only acting defensively when it is within consuming a meal. This means they are very easy to tame. Overall, meat snakes are a marvelous creature with a very interesting way of sustaining itself. It is an amazing experience to encounter one, as long as you don't mind the smell.
Se deben tener un olor a mierda.
Our next creature is the mimic.
De Mimic.
The mimic.
Uff.
The mimic is a bipedal
Este
creature
ya
with
se pone
uncanny
turbio.
similarities to humanoid anatomy. They greatly resemble humans without skin,
No,
without
tranqui,
an
sí, sí es
exaggerated
amigable,
features.
boludo. Está sonriendo.
These features
Sí,
include
sí.
extended finger length, longer limbs, bulging, empty eyes, and their most prominent feature, a wide,
Anda a
teeth-filled
cagar,
smile.
boludo.
Although it resembles a happy face, this is due to coincidence, and is only how their facial structure is
Ah,
shaped.
mirá, ahí tenés, boludo. Es coincidencia,
The
Gil.
wall of the mimic contains much more teeth than humans, and their teeth is comprised almost entirely
Mira
of
mis dientes.
incisors, with some canine and premolars in the back.
Tienen casi los mismos dientes que
This
los humanos,
tooth
boludo.
composition is ideal for biting down onto meat and swallowing chunks whole. A mature mimic's diet is comprised entirely of
Carne
human
humana.
flesh.
Uy, amigo.
Acá ya dimos un salto.
Sí, acá ya se puso turbio.
Because of this, they are found solely around human-populated areas. The mimic's life cycle is made of 3 stages. In the first stage, a young mimic separates from the crawl. They closely resemble
separa
their
del
trimming
crawl.
relatives, but are thin, sleek, and only have 4 appendages. In this stage, the young mimic will hunt small animals, moving on to larger and larger as they grow. Once
entonces no
large
come
enough,
solo carne
it
humana.
will
Las
begin
primeras etapas come
metamorphosis
animales.
into the next stage of life. Once
Y una
fully
vez en esta
transformed,
etapa.
it
Sí.
will resemble the description mentioned in the beginning.
Para,
Its
¿esta era la del
hunting style
medio?
changes and becomes much more complicated. It now stalks and feeds only on humans.
Mirá, mirá eso.
It will locate human-populated
A la
area
pija.
and begin its search for an easy target.
Es una
To
banda,
blend
aparte
in,
los come
it may use
vivos.
objects to conceal itself. These include clothing, mannequins, and furniture. Once a target has been found, the mimic will observe its prey and learn its routine and when it is most vulnerable.
Hijo de
This
puta,
is
encima te
typically when the
focusea,
human is
boludo.
asleep at night.
Te estudia hasta que
Once the
estés
prey
débil.
is within position, the mimic will advance silently until it is close enough.
Son re
The mimic will
inteligentes.
then execute and immediately begin consumption. Once the mimic has had its fill, it will
Por lo
leave
menos
the
te mata, no te
scene,
come
a fair
vivo.
distance away from the human population, and begin to digest its meal.
Ah, y después se van al bosque a
Although, in the
digerir.
case that a human is awake, a mimic will use a variety of sounds to either lure or startle
Cagué
prey into
todo,
cornering
boludo.
themselves. Once a human is in place, it will swiftly attack and kill the helpless target.
Mm. Juan se fue a la mierda, ¿no? Alto miedo.
Adiós, Popó.
No, amigo, no. No, boludo. Alto
The
screamer,
next
amigo.
stage of the mimic's life cycle
Se
has 2
cagó todo.
potential morphs it
Que
may
dice,
develop
las siguientes
into.
fases pueden
If a
adoptar dos
mimic has
formas
a consistent
distintas.
supply of food, it will develop more human-like features. It will grow skin, hair, and by the end will look nearly identical to a human being. It now can blend entirely into civilization and lure other humans more effectively. The second type of morph happens when a mimic receives an overabundance of food. It will grow into a larger, more evolved hunter.
Uf.
Its proportions will increase in length, and its humanoid features will fade away. It grows a thick,
Hasta se puede
dark
mimetizar,
coating of a
¿vieron?
flexible skin, which is highly
Pero por eso ahí
durable and
entramos en
increases
un
in
dilema. ¿Qué es
strength the more
peor?
the elder mimic consumes.
¿Que nos copie a nosotros o que sea esta cosa?
Peor no sé, pero las dos opciones son malas.
This excludes the face, which is now coated in a pale pink skin. The mimic's teeth have also moved deeper into the mimic's throat,
No.
leaving its mouth a
No,
toothless
tiene
grin.
dientes hasta en la garganta, qué
It
asco.
uses the dark hue of its skin to hide seamlessly within a dark environment. Its skills have also been heightened. This makes an elder mimic one of the most efficient predators on the planet. Because of the obvious threat this poses on humanity, nations around the world have released instructions on how to be able to fend for yourself in a mimic encounter. Here are the instructions.
A ver cómo defenderte.
1. Avoid going out alone if your location is known to have mimics, or there have been mimic sightings.
Ok, no salir.
2. If you encounter a stationary mimic, seemingly unfazed by your presence,
Sí.
quietly leave the location and alert your
Las
local
autoridades locales no van a
authorities.
poder hacer mucho.
3. If pursued by a mimic, get yourself into a position where you are able to flee. Mimics will rarely attack if a person has a clear escape route.
Ok.
4. In the event that you have been cornered by a mimic,
Dese por muerto.
roll into the
¿Te
fetal
imaginas?
position, protecting your neck, face,
Ah,
and
mira.
vital organs from attack. Make as much noise as you can to alert any other people. 5. If you have a weapon, do not use it. A mimic is fairly resilient, and
Ah,
any
bueno.
strikes or shots on a mimic is not effective
Las
enough
armas
to
no
bring it
sirven,
down in
Solo
time.
correr o
Instead,
ponerte
use
como
it
un
as a
tarado.
barrier between you and the mimic to block any attacks. 6. In a situation where a mimic is hunting in the immediate area
Esto existe,
and is
gente,
not aware
ya
of
se
your
imaginan.
position, hide somewhere low,
Me
like
mato.
under a bed or behind other furniture. A mimic will not linger too long to search for prey and will move
Ahí ya
on.
sabemos que eso es mentira.
Be safe.
El
and
esconderse,
avoid any
sí.
encounters with a mimic at all costs.
Esa 7 era fake,
Next
la
up,
última.
The Harvester.
El cosechador hay más, no me jodas.
The Harvester.
The Harvester.
The harvester is a large, bulbous mass, with a large amount of tendrils spreading from the base. The bulb measures around 3 meters in height and 2 meters in diameter.
Es como
The tendrils
los cosos esos que tenés que romper en el back for blood, ¿viste? Para poder
Sí,
avanzar.
básicamente.
Sí, los cosos
Pero
naranjas.
peor.
on the
Los
other
típicos
hand,
cosos naranjas de
can
todos los
extend
juegos de
up to
monstruos, boludo.
150 meters
O
in
de
diameter
Resident Evil, ¿viste? Los
horizontally.
puntos débiles.
The harvester is a specialized form of crawl that grows in a unique and deadly way. A harvester is created when a node, that will grow into a harvester, instead of separating, continues to grow. Eventually, it
No,
will
mira.
grow tendrils of its own. It uses the energy provided by its mother branch and expands its reach further. Its tendrils, hidden just below the surface of the ground. The harvester is equipped with 2 types of specialized tendrils. The first type is bulky and flat. They lie the closest to the surface. These branches are lined on each length of the tendril with spines, extending in the shape of a bear trap. On each side of the branch, those particular
como
spines have a
trampa que
vein that
hacen.
feed into them, that pump 2 types of venom. On one side, the spines can inject a neurotoxin,
Si lo
which will
pisás,
attack the
cagaste.
nervous system of whomever it is injected into, causing sudden paralysis. The other side can inject an anticoagulant, which when injected, prevents blood cells from clotting. Whenever a large animal moves across the area armed with these tendrils, the branches will clamp onto the animal and thrash violently. Once the prey has been injected with both
Chau,
venoms,
Ciervito.
the tendrils will rest and the prey will immediately collapse. The
Claro,
animal
se
will be
mueven las
unable to move
raíces,
due
te
to the
pinchan,
paralysis, and the wounds
te
caused by the
paralizan.
thrashing spines will not stop
Y
bleeding.
o te
All
mata
the
o
prey
te
can
morís
do is
de
lie
desangrado.
patiently
Claro.
until succumbing to blood loss.
Ahí está, ¿eh?
Once the prey has bled out, the second type of tendrils come in. They lie below the spine equipped once. These branches are thick, but very sturdy. They share similar anatomy to the small branches of the crawl, equipped with organelle that absorbs nutrients.
Una mierda.
These tendrils sense the blood, and move their way to the surface and begin to absorb the vital fluid. Once the blood has been consumed, the tendrils will wrap around the body and begin to shuffle downwards.
Re
This
turbio.
movement loosens the soil and slowly pull the body underground.
Y te lleva al
Once
fiambre abajo de la
secured,
tierra.
the tendrils will continue to feed until there is nothing but scraps. The nourishment absorbed by the tendrils will be sucked back into the main bulb of the harvester. This bulb houses all the vital organs and the venom glands that pump into the spines. The nutrients are then converted into usable energy. The remains underground decompose, providing a rich soil, causing very prominent plant growth, which then attracts more
Ah,
animals.
hijos de puta.
A strange
Se llena de
behavior the
animales.
harvester displays as its choice of diet.
Todo un
The
ciclo.
spines will
Se
only
alimentan
activate on
mucho
larger
más.
animals, allowing smaller ones to pass by unaffected. The spines will also not activate on some species of bird. There are a couple theories as to why this happens. One, it could be that attacking smaller animals would cost too much energy for what they get in return, making it not worth the time. Another, could be that smaller animals may attract larger
Claro.
animals or predators, allowing
A los
safe
chiquitos no los
place where
matan.
prey may thrive
Todavía no se sabe
and
por
lure
qué,
more predators. It
pero alguna
truly
de
is
las teorías
Pero hay
esas dos.
teorías.
Although it is a spectacular creature, it is also very dangerous. The
No.
harvester is decently rare, only populating sparse areas in the northern
Nos salvamos
hemisphere
bien,
and
eso no
woodland
está.
forests.
Vamos, estamos bien. Vos no, mira,
No,
mira,
boludo,
creo que
yo
llegamos
no.
a rey.
Cierto que no estoy en Argentina, boludo.
Creo que justo
Sí,
llegó a
sí,
Andorra.
pensé
Sparse
que...
areas in the
No, me salvé. Va, bueno, no está marcado,
Está un poco bordado.
Bueno, capaz que me salvo.
Northern
Igual yo
Hemisphere
pensé
and
que estaba en
woodland
Argentina, boludo.
If you are stung
Romel
by a
cagó.
harvester,
Sí,
there will be
Romel
no way
recagó.
of helping you, being that there is no cure, and fatality is 100% positive.
100% de mortalidad.
The best thing you can do is avoid encountering a harvester in the first place. If you are hiking, take note of any warnings or signs saying that there are harvesters around.
¿Te imaginas
If you
carteles
also
así en la vida
notice an
real?
abundance of lush, ground-dwelling plants in a
Voy a empezar a
forested
pegar.
area, and there are no signs of wildlife, this is suspicious and you should leave the area, staying close to the base of large trees or rocks. If you find yourself in the middle of a harvester ground, do
Uf.
not panic.
Sí, dale.
Sudden movements may activate the tendrils and will inject you. Although a harvester is rather forgiving, do not risk any skittish movements. Remain calm.
Me quedo tranquilo, sí.
If you have any objects with considerable heft, like coats, backpacks, or full water bottles, gently take that object and lightly toss it towards the bulb, and away from your escape route. This will activate the spines on where the object lands, distracting the bulb for a moment. You will then slowly begin to do wide shuffles away from the bulb. If possible, throw another object when you are certain you are a fair enough distance away, just to be safe. Continue until you are completely sure you are out of harm's way. You may come out unscathed, but don't be too obnoxious, or you will be a harvester's next meal. Next up is the host. The host of influence.
The host.
The host of influence, more commonly referred to as the host, has its name derived from a host who invites guests to an event. Not to be confused with a host, a harborer of parasites or disease. The host is a semi-humanoid looking organism. It has the structure of a head, torso, and arms. Other than this, it shares no other characteristics. The lower half of the host is comprised of a mass of fibrous tissue and tendrils that burrow into the ground to hold the host in place. Instead of skin, the host is covered in muscular tissue fibers, tendons, and veins. In some parts of the body are covered in a
Ese
meaty
está en
plate
Andorra,
used to cover any large
Ese
exposed
está acá
areas,
enfrente de mi
but
casa.
allowing movement. The host's head has a smooth surface where the face should be, attached to a crooked neck, which houses a slit in the front used for feeding. On the host's back is a mound of pores. Protruding from these pores are hollow, hair-like structures, extending outwards. These hairs are barrels that release spores produced within host's body by being fired into the air. These spores are hazardous, so keep clear of them at all costs. Luckily, the host is rare, only found in North America.
Cagó Romel, boludo.
Vamos.
Obtaining info
Ahí
about
sí
the
me
host is
salvé.
a very risky and daunting task. This is because of their rarity and of how dangerous it is to be up close to one. The sores released by a host is very dangerous when inhaled.
Te
A
refalopeas
host
con
will
eso.
release a cloud of spores into the air, which will be picked up by wind and carried great distances. If an organism inhales the spores, the particles will find their way into the organism's brain and infect them. An infected organism will show no symptoms of infection right away, but a couple hours after infection the infected organism's behavior and thought process will change. The first symptoms that appear are restlessness, sluggish movement, numbness of joints, and lack of coordination. Then more serious symptoms appear over time. These include dizziness, migraines, impaired speech, and trembles. If you, or someone you know show these symptoms, contact poison control or emergency services. After
Te van a
a
dar
total
una
of 6
solución
to 7
segura, ¿eh?
hours after infection, the organism will cease all activities they were previously doing and begin to walk.
las
The
cosas.
direction the infected will walk is towards the host whose spores have been inhaled by the
Ah, mirá,
infected
por eso el
individual.
anfitrión. De host.
If the
Te
infected
invito.
Claro.
makes their way to the host, they will kneel down in front of it, expose their vital organs,
No.
and the host will promptly
Le
gut and
entregas tu
remove those organs.
corazón, todos los órganos, boludo.
The host will
te
consume them and
destripa.
discard the leftover scraps. However, if an infected organism doesn't reach the host within a 36-hour span or is treated for their infection, the effects will wear off and return
mira.
back to normal.
Si no llegas al bicho ese en 36 horas, te
If the
salvas.
host is unable to find prey or doesn't like its current location, it will unroot itself and move to a new location. Their scarce numbers and the hazard of being around one makes getting info about the host very daunting.
Buena forma
All
de
you
matar,
need to
bastante
currently know
original,
is that the
¿no?
host is extremely dangerous and should be avoided at
No
all
recuerdo
costs.
haberlo visto en juegos y películas casi. Tipo que te infecten y
Next,
vayas hacia
The
él.
monoliths.
Los monolitos.
The monoliths.
¿Qué mierda es
The
esto?
monolith is a very new creature, only showing up in June of 1972.
¿En dónde?
in
A
the
ver si nos
area.
salvamos. No, bueno.
There are only 7
Hijo de-
monoliths, all of them located in a circular
Son
position,
7 nada
Solo hay
más.
1.5 kilometers in diameter. This ring of monoliths surrounds. The monolith is a Titanic-sized being, measuring roughly 120 meters in height.
120 metros.
Each monolith has 2 trunk legs that
Mira
are firmly
eso.
embedded underground. The legs connect to a torso.
No, dale.
The creature itself is made of hundreds of thousands of meaty strands, tightly woven together to form the structure. These strands end at the neck, fusing into a solid mass of hardened flesh in the shape of an upside-down triangle, with a hole in its
Lo
center.
único sólido es la cabeza.
On each side of the monolith where arms would be, there are dozens of long, rope-like appendages. These reach just barely to the ground. At the creature's feet, the strands go deep into the earth and extend horizontally a decent distance away. What the
A la
monoliths do is
pija,
simply
boludo.
stand and do nothing. The only activity documented that the monoliths have done was
Pip.
Ujú.
during this period.
Dale,
they
loco,
were
pasen info de
extremely
los
aggressive.
monolitos.
When the group of
Pip.
were
Beep.
making their way to the city, the monolith that they had passes roared a deep bellow and swung its appendages at the team, completely wiping them out. When military vehicles were dispatched, once they got close enough top the monolith, it roared another call, this time releasing an EMP
Beep.
blast, completely knocking the vehicles out in the vicinity. Finally, long-distance rockets were fired and struck the creature.
¿Qué hay video? Hay video,
Although damaged, it regenerated at great speed and resumed its stance unscathed. Eventually, the area has been fenced off and is now restricted to all. Ever since, the monolith stands silently, now only a grand spectacle of awe and mystery, only adding more questions to these meat beings. And finally, the last creature on this
Beep.
list is
The singularity
Verga.
is a orb comprised of a dark-colored mineral with hints of luminous colors within its core. The singularity is estimated to
La
be 1 meter in
singularidad.
diameter. The orb has several unique qualities that are not well understood. The singularity typically can be found suspended in air by an unseen force. There are also a variety of reading that have been documented coming from the orb itself. Various things like magnetic fields, energy signatures, and other pattern-like signals released by the singularity. The population of these creatures is unknown. Almost all info about the
No se sabe
singularity
cuántas
is
son.
hidden or confiscated by officials. We were only able to receive one classified document about the singularity being held by
Har, 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 har.
marvelous and majestic world that exists today. It's as extraordinary to have such strange and mysterious beings appear all around us. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery of the lives of these living meat creatures.
Criaturas de carne viva, boludo, re turbio. Bueno, claramente sigue. Este fue el
Sí,
capítulo
sí.
1, ¿no?
Ujú. Déjalo que no dura mucho este crédito.
Interesting.
The greatest discovery of the age.
Let this feeling end.
Have any information of the whereabouts of
Ese desapareció la mierda.
Be making a dish that has recently gained a fair
¿Mm?
amount of popularity.
¿De qué está hecho eso?
Today's dish will be a cheesy
Pene
called
con queso y
penne.
crawl. Qué rico. Pene con queso y crawl.
La cocina del hogar.
To start
Crawl es
off,
la planta esa que generaba todo lo que vimos
you
recién.
will need
Ujú.
3 cups of penne pasta.
3 tazas de pasta de pene.
Roughly 3 cups worth of fresh
3
crawl.
tazas de crawl
And
fresca.
get a variety of sizes when
Ah,
you
mira
buy
esa
your
mierda.
fish or when you
No, ni un
harvest
pedo,
it
como eso,
yourself.
tomátela.
1 cup of cheese, half a cup of green onion, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of Cajun
Cajún.
spice, 2 tablespoons
Perejil.
of parsley, 1 tablespoon of dill,
Eneldo.
1
No sé qué es
tablespoon of
esto,
garlic,
pero.
Debe
es-
ser, no, una especie, sí.
and finally, the most crucial ingredient, Nutrier Company's
Potenciador de
new
sabor.
flavor enhancer. To bring out
Eso
the
te debe
richness
hacer
of flavor
mierda,
in
boludo.
each and every meal. First, get a medium-sized pot and fill
Bueno, vamos a
half
aprender a
Pero tiene
hacer
guante.
pene con crawl, Anoten, gente, Si quieren comer un buen pene.
Add a pinch of salt, which is used to help the pot come to a boil faster and help flavor the pasta. Then, set aside to boil.
Ujú.
Grab your crawl and a sharp knife.
Ujú.
Begin to cut the meat into a
Sí,
rough
dale,
edge.
yendo. Ni en pedo comería eso. Yo, ¿quién come eso, boludo? Cuesta, ¿no? Todo desafilado el cuchillo.
Ay, la con.
Pero, boludo, ese cuchillo no corta nada. ¿Qué? Es de manteca, boludo.
Crawl is soft on the outside, but the interior has a surprising
Ah, ahora ya
sturdiness.
entiendo todo.
No, una excusa, una excusa.
Sí, sí. Lo metió como excusa en el cuchillo no cortaba una mierda.
Then,
Mira
gather the
eso,
meat
qué
and
asco,
set
la
aside.
co-
Dios mío. Pero mirá, si me voy a poner a ese pedazo está re entero, boludo, lo cortó.
Sí, no puedo cortar nada,
Qué hijo de
Mince the
puta.
green onion into rough segments.
Yo ya probé. No, yo probé el pene, el crown no.
And set aside as well. Next, grab your skillet and preheat with along some oil.
Qué asco, boludo. ¿Con qué lo habrá hecho, tipo, en la vida real? ¿Qué mierda será? Parecen ramas, ¿no?
sé.
Carne con ramas.
Sí, parece algo de... O sea, lo más clarito parece raba o algo de eso.
Qué asco.
Lo otro es plástico, seguro, no sé. Hasta que estén crujientes y doradas.
Sí,
As
sí.
your water reaches a boil, add your penne
Ahí le
and
metes
stir
el,
it
Añadí el
slowly.
pene.
metes el pene en el agua.
Quiero que pongas pausa.
Cook until soft.
¿Qué?
Volvé para atrás, volvé. Un poquito. Apenas. Es un PNG el humito.
¿Serio?
Fíjate, está la línea esa. Eso es un efecto. No está hirviendo eso.
Qué hijo de puta.
Cook
Ah, es verdad, ahí la vi.
¿Lo viste?
Sí, sí. Acá,
Ahí.
alta línea.
until soft.
Claro, ahí no sale humo, por ejemplo.
At this time, your crawl will be brown and
Qué asco, boludo. Es que no como ni en pedo. Ay, Dios, ¿qué tiene ahí?
add your minced onion and then the spices.
Igual eso de ser carne picada real y habrá aprovechado y se habrá comido. Ah, no, ahora es incomible eso. Va, bueno, no. Depende.
Once your pasta is finished cooking, strain it.
Usa guantes igual. Debe ser tremenda cosa falsa, ¿eh?
Lay your cooked benet evenly into your dish.
O sea, en el universo, ¿no?
Claro. Debe ser re tóxico, boludo. Lo hicieron para matar
Add
gente.
the crawl topping.
Ahí le mete el crawl. Y te llama tu mamá, hijo, ya están los
Ah,
fideos.
pará, sí, tenía una máscara.
Sprinkle a generous amount.
¿Cómo
Tenía
una
una máscara de gas.
Still warm
¿Sí?
crawl for it to melt.
Sí, no me acuerdo dónde lo vi, pero sí, es verdad.
Ah.
Creo que cuando estaba colando
At this point,
la pasta.
finish preparing
Entonces,
the dish
sí, tenía una
with
máscara, dicen acá en el chat.
but allow your dish to cool to a
Nah, ni en
temperature
pedo,
below
¿cómo es
60
eso, boludo?
degrees Celsius,
¿Querés
or
glaseado?
else the enhancer will not work.
Pará,
¿Qué hubo?
escuchaste eso, o sea, leíste eso, ¿no?
¿Esto?
Eso, antes.
potenciador.
60 a menos de 60 grados centígrados. Ahí. Hay que poner el potenciador de eso.
Sí.
Menos de 60 grados.
Y pero... enfriar a menos de 60.
Dejar que se enfríe a
Pero
menos de
60
60 grados y ahí pones el potenciador.
Ok, primero tiene que estar frío. Si es recién sacado
Y
de...
que crece a menos de 60 grados.
Claro,
Hongos.
claro.
No sabes qué es más tóxico, si lo que te venden o el crowd, boludo.
Incomible, literal, ¿no? Estuvo buena esta publicidad,
crédito. Este es crédito cortito.
Bueno, está bueno, te van tirando de a poquito info ahí.
Many people get pets for companionship.
Sí, ahí vienen los raritos que
They
tienen
form
los...
bonds and grow relationships with these animals, even to the
Tan
point
show,
of them
boludo.
being considered a part of the family. Most people get dogs or cats.
Y
but
ahí
then
vienen los
you want
raritos, tienen la
something more
garrapata
interesting.
gigante, hasta los Miger, ¿cómo es?
Then you may want to
Esto,
get
trimming.
yourself a trimming.
Ay, Dios.
These lumps of meat have grown a reputation to be a loving companion for
Estos
many
bultos de
people in
carne se han
recent
ganado la
months.
reputación de ser una compañía
Although
cariñosa.
most people may not know the proper ways to
Pero
care for them.
tomátela.
Today, we will be showing you how
Decime
you can
un
care
hombre
for
que
your
no
pet
sea
trimming.
cariñoso con un bulto de carne.
Taking care of a trimming is fairly
Rico, bueno.
easy, but this is no reason to slack off. They are living things and do require maintenance.
¿Sabes cómo
The
los
first thing
extermino
to
todos
keep
esos
in
bichos
mind
raros,
when
boludo?
keeping a trimming is the temperature of your home. While trimmings are resilient to both high and low
Claro, eso iba a
conditions,
decir, justo.
you want to keep your base temperature near room temp, maybe slightly cooler. That being said, trimmings prefer warmer areas to nest. A simple setup you may use is a box with some blankets on the inside. Make sure there is enough for your trimming to cover itself. And
¿Cómo
now,
mierda
you
vas a
have a
tener eso de
comfy bed for your
mascota,
buddy.
hermano?
Next, you
Tómatela.
want to give your trimming the best diet possible. Trimmings are not picky eaters and will eat anything you give them. Keep your
Angélica.
trimming healthy and strong. A diet of dry cat or dog food that is high in protein, provided 2 times a day, is best. As a treat, you may give your trimming any scraps of your food.
Lo más loco es si llegara... Es que si llegara a existir algún rarito tendría eso de mascota.
Es que sí, esto es lo más real que...
A thing
Sí.
to remember is trimmings are
Angélica.
nocturnal and make plenty of noise.
Dios mío.
Escucha.
Nah, tómatela. Estás jugando al Warzone y tenés ahí a Angélica.
To prevent you from having sleepless nights,
Sí, no lo
try to
tengas.
give your trimmings first meal in the late morning or afternoon. This helps them be active during these times instead.
Claro, en vez de romper la bola por la noche, rompe la bola por la tarde.
Another thing to consider if you want a pet trimming is where they will be living. Your home should have enough space for your trimming to roam around, as well as access to the outdoors, like a backyard. If not,
Más
be sure to
tierno.
take your trimmings on regular walks.
¿Cómo
Hermoso.
come?
This gives your trimming the exercise they need, as well as allowing them to meet other trimmings.
Ah, socializan todos los
Trimmings are a
guachines.
social creature and need to interact with others of their kind, like how they do in the wild. When it comes to entertainment, trimmings are not the most active and aren't the best at fetch or tug of war. But here
Menos
are
reacción
other
que
ways
Romero en el
to keep your
control,
trimming
boludo.
entertained. Some toys that trimmings like are little items they can push, around, pull, or carry. Trimmings also enjoy things that you enjoy as well, like watching the television or listening to the radio.
No, bueno.
They love seeing and listening to all the funny things coming from the devices. After a long day, your trimming might be dirty and need a wash. To clean them, start your bath with a gentle warm water, mixed with a bit of hand or body wash. Gently scrub the trimming
Pero
feet,
tómatela que voy a
armpits,
limpiar
belly,
eso.
and neck fold. Remember to be careful around their face and avoid getting soaked in their
Cara de
eyes,
bicho.
nose,
Está
and
re
mouth.
duro.
Gently pat dry with a towel when done. Now your buddy is all clean.
Por Dios, amigo. Es que me lo tomo como si fuera real porque te juro que mucha gente lo
And
tendría en la vida
lastly,
real,
as
¿eh?
said before, trimmings
¿Qué onda,
are
Fabi?
social creatures, so be sure to give them plenty of affection. They love receiving pats, scratches, and pets. They also love to sit with you and cuddle. Since they communicate
Por
with
Dios,
each other
boludo.
in the wild, it is best to replicate this behavior with them as well.
Tiene su encanto,
Simply
sí.
talking to them is plenty
Que no
enough.
tiene nada de encanto,
You can
boludo.
talk about your day.
Es una
if anything
tortuga
interesting
roja.
happened at work,
Sí.
if you are working on any new recipes, or talk about the weather. Trimmings are very good listeners and love to be involved. With all of these in mind, you
Mirá
are
lo
now
que es
well
eso.
equipped to have a trimming become a part of the family. Do things right, and you will have a companion for a long while.
Mira, multiplicamos cuánto vivían. De 2 a 4
Sí,
pasaron de 8 a
8 a
12.
12. Pero igual no creo que afecte eso con todos los animales. Por ahí
No,
los
calculo que
cocodrilos.
los boludos que los cuidan.
Claro, también, pero
Pobres.
viste que los cocodrilos en la vida salvaje viven 40 años más o menos, 50, pero
Ujú.
si los tenés bien cuidados viven como 100 y pico.
Los de Nueva York, ahí en la sabe cantar.
Los alligator.
Le están poniendo un cassette.
Yo quiero un trimming ahora.
In the year of 1945, with the war finally ended, the cleanup process had started. During routine sweep of an underground train tunnel, the cleanup crew made a grotesque discovery. Found completely filling the tunnel was a meaty wall, and in the center of the mass was an opening with several skulls surrounding it.
Mira eso.
Closer inspection of the blockage revealed that the mass was actually an extremely
No.
engorged meat snake. Its impeccable size had blocked off the entirety of the tunnel's path.
Las serpientes.
There was many strange things with this creature. First was the coloration. A typical meat snake's color is bright reds and light browns. This particular meat snake was a very deep maroon. Another strange thing about it was its behavior. This creature barely moved. Meat snakes are normally sluggish and encumbersome, but the specimen discovered seemed to lack even basic motor functions. Its behavior was that of a plant's. Stationary, with only minor movements within. One would assume it was dead. The reason the meat snake may act this way may be because it was completely lodged in place and minimized movements to conserve energy. But how would it have gotten this deep into the tunnel in the first place? And by the looks of weathering, it had been in there for quite some time. So how did it get so large? The answer was discovered by a different cleaning crew, who found the other end of the tunnel. They followed it until it met with the other end of the meat snake.
Ok, fueron a la otra punta de la serpiente. Y sí, había muchos cadáveres.
This meat snake's skin
Y
also
era
displayed great amounts
1945.
of resilience.
Sí.
It took several days of cutting to even obtain a sample. Here, you can see the clear difference between this meat snake specimen versus a normal meat snake's membrane. Testing on the sample showed that it had great immunity to damage. It tolerated
Con razón pararon los subtes, dice Masi. Claro, boludo.
And even high doses of radiation.
Radiación. Ah,
It is a
tiene
wonder
sentido.
how such durability can occur in an organic creature. Another strange phenomenon is the smell off the skin. Normally, it would have a sour smell of rotting flesh. But the specimen displayed a rather pleasant smell, like that of cooking scrambled eggs.
Qué rico.
Meat snake was later discovered to be missing by unknown survivors. How the meat snake grew in size was discovered to be
Hay un crédito que es largo que te vas a dar cuenta cuando pase, pero es casi el final, así que...
Ok. ¿Cuánto vamos? 48.
La mitad.
Hijos de mil.
Sí.
As of the time of this video's release, we have been facing a concerning increase of missing persons and fatalities on a global scale. The reason for this is because we are under attack. We have discovered that there has been a significant growth of mimic populations, which is threatening public safety. National leaders have released this instructional recording to teach you on how to defend yourself. Here
Pero
is
yo
what
ya
you need to
sabía,
know
ya lo
about the
vimos,
threat.
guachines.
Sí, por eso ten en cuenta el
Mimics
primer
are
video.
humanoid, intelligent predators that are highly adaptive and feed solely on human prey. Mimics gain information on people by watching their daily lives and pick to hunt people when they are most vulnerable. The most common times a mimic will attack is when you are asleep, that walking alone,
De momento
or in a
viene
cornered
igual.
position. Mimics
Qué
are
variador,
cautious and calculative creatures, taking precautions to ensure a successful hunt. They utilize various tactics to capture a person by surprise. One of the more well-known tactics is hiding itself inside of furniture to blend into its environment. Common objects that mimics can hide inside are sofas, recliners, wardrobes,
No, mirá si te acostás en el sillón y hay uno de esos, boludo.
Mimics are able to contort their body in ways that allow them to fit inside
No
smaller
me
places.
jodas.
They also use it to expand their body, making themselves appear
Se
larger for
pueden
intimidation.
crecer y hacerse más
Another
chiquitos.
method mimics use to blend in is their ability to put on and wear clothing.
Ah, mirá, se visten los hijos de puta. Le
Mimics
gusta la
put on
moda.
layers of shirts, pants, and jackets to hide their bright red skin and blend into densely populated areas. In very rare cases, mimics can develop and grow to look very similar to human beings. Pairing this with clothing, it can be very hard to tell the difference between a mimic and a person right away. If you are unsure if a person is a mimic, look out for key features that may reveal their true form.
Se ven normales.
Look for abnormal facial features, like large, bulbous eyes, flat noses,
Esa
wide
cara de
mouth and an
pelotudo que
uncanny
tiene.
smile, and clammy skin. Also pay attention to other exposed body parts like hands.
Claro, las manos son enormes.
Mimic people will have long fingers with no fingernails.
Qué pelota,
If
yo
you
no
are
soy.
unable to see their face or hands, watch
Es
their
un
walking
mimic.
pattern. Mimics' legs are long and hunched. Their walking will be unusual and irregular. Here is what you do if you are met with a mimic. If it stands before you, do not panic. Stand your ground and try to appear larger.
Mira, cambió.
Wave your hands
Antes
and
te
make
tenías que
plenty
hacer
of
el
noise.
defenderte.
Maintain eye contact. A mimic will hesitate to attack a potential threat. If you are armed with a weapon, aim for the head or legs.
Antes no se le podía disparar.
These are the best areas to hit to immobilize the threat. Fight back and don't let it get a hold on you. If you find a mimic that hasn't discovered you yet, stay out of sight. Call the authorities and alert them of your location.
Acá está igual.
Stay where you are to avoid startling the mimic. If the mimic gives chase, run.
Run.
Try to get somewhere out of sight and hide. Do not leave the area. Officials will need to locate you to help. Stay low and stay quiet. With the information you have learned, use it well, and stay safe.
Bueno, ya sabemos cómo defendernos.
¿Qué onda, chapitas? Esta parte me costó un montón.
¡Ah! Sonic, salí de la cámara. En ese caso, Christopher y Janis. Uy. Ok.
Got it. See? Yep, it's working.
Hey, can we get a move on?
1 sec. Yeah. Okay. Hello.
I thought you only had 30 minutes of tape on that.
I know, but gotta see how it works.
Gotta see how it works.
Like,
Yeah,
I never got to use one of these. Too bad. You were the only person who could film with me, so you're gonna have to put up with it.
Fine.
Así que te la vas a tener que bancar, guachín.
Screw you.
Screw you.
It's way too dark. 1 sec. There we go. Hello.
Cold.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. You got some light now. But look at that over there. You can't see anything unless I like point directly over there. Like,
Mira esta linterna ahí.
nope, can't see nothing.
Bueno, no te creas, he visto algunas que llegan hasta
Yeah, this light.
arriba en el cielo, boludo.
I'll cook you stuff when we get
Hay algunas re potentes.
Don't worry.
I'm hungry.
Too bad.
Es Alan Wake, boludo, el del video, sí, por la linterna. Está preparado.
Me está mareando con la luz.
Sí, hijo de puta, déjala quieta. Ay, Dios.
Hijo de puta.
Me tiltea que se vaya y aparezca. ¡Basta!
¡Ah!
Ay, Dios, alumbra derecho, fijo. Pero, a ver,
Podés hacerlo con la cámara, hacerlo con la lámpara también.
Claro,
¿Te imaginas la cámara arriba y abajo?
no, es que
Re
qué persona
insoportable.
que tiene linterna va así, boludo, tipo sin usarla. Está balanceando.
Right, but still turns off and on randomly for some reason. Like, it's the best thing I could get my hands on, though. Turning on and off, but it's the only thing that they would give me. It works, so I just gotta watch.
This is gnarly.
It's not my fault this guy lives in a fucking dump. We're almost there, we just gotta get
Ese ruido es
the
porque me estoy estirando allá para mover el ventilador porque a veces el viento me molesta.
show up on camera, so.
Entonces si ven que hago así es porque estoy acomodando el ventiladorcito. Y la silla, bueno, el ruido es porque está hecha mierda.
Ahí escribí mal un qué, boludo, la puta madre.
Oscuro, mirá.
Ah, oscuro.
It was just one guy. I don't know why. Like, why would they get rid of everything? Dogs barking are never a good sign.
No.
The sky looks nice. Thing can't capture it.
Y no, boludo, conocen Alcatel.
Barely capture the ground in front of me.
El piedo. What? Ah, se me mezclaron palabras.
¿El qué dijo igual? Ah,
El piso.
Ground in front of me.
¿sí?
Sí,
Barely
ground.
capture the ground in front of me.
Ah, sí, the ground in front of me.
Pero se me mezcló el puedo con el piso y chao,
Claro.
bebé.
Da igual. Se entiende, un error, no pasa nada.
Out here exactly?
Yo voy 4.
Supposedly, they found some guy. Like it was like a grody scene. Like it was disgusting. Like they had to get rid of the trailer
¿Otro
he
qué?
was in.
La barra espaciadora mal timeada.
Sí, la puta madre. Pero ni eso, porque es Keu. Tipo, la U también.
Hopefully, I get a good mark for it. There we go. We're getting close.
Ahora sí, deja la linterna quieta, gracias a Dios.
Va a aparecer un mímica acá de frente, nos vamos a cagar todo. Un mímico.
Hasta ahora los cosos estos se spawnearon de la nada en 1961. Y ahora estamos viendo algo del 83.
Ya debe estar en una etapa evolucionada.
You know where we're going?
Yeah, we're almost there. We're on the road. We're right next to it. Like, it's literally up there.
Okay.
Okay.
Come on. It's not too late yet.
Hungry.
Said that already.
Yeah? I'm still hungry.
Doing okay. Almost there. It'll be like 5 minutes. 5 minutes, okay?
Perdón, en el 1931.
Ok.
Almost there.
Antes.
Ese preforo.
Got
Sí,
past the tree
se las
line.
quita. Y sí, porque si no, no encajaba con lo de la Segunda Guerra Mundial, con la serpiente.
Claro.
Then we can go home. Okay?
Okay.
I don't want to be out here either. It's a weird place. See, we're right here. You go ahead. You can't see it there.
Ay, ay, la puta, qué boludo. Me bajé un poco el buzo y la cadenita me enfrió
Just up
todo.
here. There should be a path. Right there, yeah, right here. See, I found the path. We're all good.
Qué peligroso.
Qué triste.
Está como Stacker cuando volvía de la escuela.
Mal. Mirá, ahí Ranita dice, ¿te imaginas que el de la cámara es el Mimi que anda llevando a la mina? Lo mismo pensé,
No.
o al revés. Pero no, no creo.
Y no mostraron la cara, ¿eh?
Tipo, lo pensé por un momento. Alguno de los dos tiene que ser.
Porque el primer instructivo nos lo vendían como animales y después el de recién
No, pero
eran
revolucionaron.
re inteligentes.
Y cada vez seguramente sea peor. Pero los mímicos hablan hasta donde sabíamos, ¿no?
Hacían sonidos. ¿Te acordás cuando
Sí.
Un golpeteo.
¿Y si yo soy un mimic streameando? La mina dice que tiene hambre.
Opa.
Es verdad, dijo alguien, I'm hungry. Que creo que fue la
Sí.
piba. No, no dijeron que habla, pero capaz que evolucionaron. Testicles. ¿Qué es ese nombre?
Testicles.
Testicles, testicles.
Yo, look at this. I didn't see this on my way over here last time.
O capaz que desaparece uno y se los morfa a los dos y bueno, no era ninguno de los dos, pero bueno.
Cool. Like we could get a shot of this in like atmosphere, you know?
It just looks like tetanus to me.
Hold till. One second. Let me get a good lighting on that. There we go. Yeah, look at that. That's cool.
There we go.
Hey, listen, it's like old stuff here as well. Anyways.
No llegan más los pelotudos.
Mal, boludo, hicieron alto viaje. Son re lentos.
Part now. Yeah, we're close. Trailer should be right up ahead.
Están yendo a Luján, sí, sí. Con la Virgen, boludo. Están haciendo un... ¿Cómo era? ¿Cómo se llamaba?
Ay, no me sale el nombre.
Algo, entrega religiosa, ¿cómo es? Ay, Dios.
This is where everyone was.
No me sale la
No one
palabra,
here
sí.
now, though. Not a single building inside.
Peregrinaje. No, pero tenía,
Eso sí.
pero tenía otro nombre igual.
Sí, también. Pero es eso, así.
There's no one here. It's the strangest thing.
Juan Cata
El tipo
volviendo,
está diciendo que-
volviendo del colegio.
Right here.
¿Qué dice?
This thing.
Que están en el 83.
So you take the camera and the
Y
light.
dice que vaciaron todo este lugar.
Point at
Mm.
me, but don't point at my eyes, please.
Que antes había gente. todo,
Apuntame
y
a mí,
ahora
pero no a
sí.
mis ojos. ¿Será por algo en especial o por la luz para que no lo flashee?
Take a part back.
En... Ahí está. Esta mierda me recostó, mira. ¿Vos escuchás algo?
Y la verdad que no. Donos. Ok.
Ahora. Esto en el 80 fue.
Que se fue a leer a la otra punta del mapa. Era el mapa. Estaba jugando,
Too much. You said grizzly way too much.
Too much?
Yeah.
Ah, me falta una L.
Sure.
Okay.
It caused.
That one turned out alright, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Están haciendo como una especie de documental, ¿no?
Sí, un coso para la escuela, como nosotros.
Sí.
Luchito.
Luchito. Bueno, era Juan Cata volviendo de la escuela, entonces. Grabó un documental. ¿Y si el asesino es un mimic?
¡Qué miedo!
Pará, gordo. ¿Chris? ¿Chris?
Chris, come on. This isn't funny.
Macris se lo...
I just want to go home. Come on. Fine. I guess I'm going home without you. I'm cold, tired, and hungry. If you want to stay out here and play games, you can.
Le pusieron la corneta a Chris,
Rico, weón.
Pará, gordo, está resaturado.
Ah, está muy cerca el micro, weón. Gil.
Se viene un screamer, boludo. Chris sabía cosas, ¿Por qué se grababa las piernas?
What are you doing? Because this isn't funny.
¡No! Vieron, yo sabía. Era un mimi, Chris, boludo. Che, re turbio, igual que te persiga eso. Chris era un mimic mató a Chris. Y
Creo
creo
que
que...
comiendo la cabeza.
Sí, me parece que se cagó muriendo por un mimic. Bueno, puede ser que lo haya matado un mimic, sí. También cualquiera de las dos, de todas formas. Uy.
¡Ay! ¡Concha tu madre!
Se cagó muriendo la pibita. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Estaba re perdido. Se había quedado con los videos de que es media ese. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Este es tranqui. Bu.
Bu.
Ah, no, este no era tranqui.
Hasta la pinga.
Eso era Canadá, ¿no? Sí.
Sí. Está re duro el de la izquierda de arriba.
Mira, mira. Septiembre. Se movieron.
Esa es la planta, ¿no? Sí. ¿O será el harvester?
Puede ser ambas.
Che, tengo miedo, siento que me voy a comer alto screamer, lo voy a bajar. Está re fuerte el volumen.
Va a ser turbio esta parte.
No, bueno.
No. No. El pendejo la quedó, ¿eh? Es una banda.
Están juntando.
Amigo, los ruidos son re turbios. Ahora la mamá.
Quedan dos.
Ahí viene el otro pendejo y después el papá.
Se estaban juntando en la islita esa de Canadá. Este es el tranqui.
Mal momento para comer pancho. ¿Qué tiene que ver un pancho?
Flavor. The most crucial component to enjoying a good meal. The way food tastes is what makes eating so pleasurable. But what if you could savor every little detail you could possibly want?
¿O esto que son los potenciadores de sabor o qué?
That is why we, at Nutrier Co.,
Ah, sí,
have made
Nutrier
it so
Co.
that you may enjoy every single bite you take. With our product, the flavor
Mira esa
enhancer, you can
milanesa.
extract every last morsel of taste from your plate. With overwhelming demand for this essential product, even since our start earlier this year, we have delivered what you wanted. Now introducing the Flavor Enhancer Deluxe. Now packaged in a larger size and modified recipe, there is now even more savory goodness to go around. Since our debut in mid-1990, the Flavor Enhancer has shown to be a major hit, with our
Venden sabor
products flying
sabrosón
off the
estos.
shelves. The Flavor Enhancer Deluxe will allow us to satisfy your growing, tasting needs. Now allowing
Yo
you
le
to
pondría
add
sabor
even more
sabrosón,
enhancer
boludo.
to your dinner,
Sabor
making your food even
sabrosón.
better to enjoy. The Flavor Enhancer Deluxe, available on shelves now.
Mira,
Nutrier
arriba.
Co.
¿Qué
Experience
decía?
true
El de
savor.
los 60 grados.
Ah, sí.
Nutrier Co. Experience true savor.
Esta mierda. Ay.
These larger serving sizes make dining even more pleasant, now allowing more generous amounts of enhancer at a time. Flavor Enhancer Deluxe, now available in stores near you. New Trier Co. Experience true save.
Basta, hijo de puta.
Make your taste buds pop with the new deluxe size.
Los oídos me van a estallar, hijo de puta.
Even more awesome.
Basta, basta.
With this essential part of every meal.
Ahí está el Pancho.
Ahí tiene el Pancho, boludo. Con ketchup.
Flavor Enhancer Deluxe.
Pero ¿para qué le querés potenciar un sabor a un pan, boludo?
No matter how small it seems, just a little more. It is crucial to everyday eating.
Ponéselo a un asadito, boludo. Una milanesa, un pan se lo hace, boludo. Sí, es adictivo, ¿no? Pareciera. Sí, mirá, todos quieren...
No, yo creo que es muy sano, boludo.
Todos quieren sabor sabrosón.
Compre. Mira el pan en el fondo. Eso del pan.
Ay, no lo... Ah, sí. Con toda la mierda esa arriba.
Sabor en polvo.
Sabor sabrosón.
¿Habré cortado el crédito que era re largo? Capaz.
Información confidencial. Esto tiene que ser importante con el tema de esto del sabor, creo yo. Escándalo. Se enfrenta a acusaciones de una serie de informes de enfermedad tras el consumo del producto. Ay. A ver qué decía. Enfermedad tras el consumo del producto del potenciador. Hasta ahora la empresa solo ha declarado que no hay problemas y que su producto es seguro para el consumo, ¿ok? Esto debe ser importante, ¿eh?
Que se conectan los puntos.
¿Mm?
Lo del anfitrión, que si pasaban 36 horas estabas a salvo.
Sí.
No.
Ver. Choca con la nación. La organización privada de sociedad ha sufrido reacciones negativas por parte de los organismos gubernamentales sobre la cooperación y la violación de las políticas sanitarias recientemente introducidas. Era un sirap.
No sabía si traducir carcas, que significa cadáver, o carcasa.
Mira, ante año nuevo.
¡Mi cumpleaños!
¿Tú cumples el 30?
Sí, brother.
In the distant horizon,
Los monolitos.
stand vacant. Although closed off to outsiders, their stands can be observed well outside the perimeter. It is known to have hundreds of thousands of fibers that weave themselves deep underground, all
Sí.
connected in a grand mycelial network.
Mhm.
Unexplained phenomena, countless casualties, missing persons, fatalities, and yet no backlash, and a notable silence about these affairs. People are afraid and confused. Why is nothing being done? Because they don't want us to know. We've been kept in the dark while those above us slither amidst the blind. They have slowly been numbing our minds to their schemes, but they've made one crucial error. Trails, crumbs, traces of information.
Ahí recién mostró que las esporas del anfitrión eran lo mismo que el coso de sabor.
Ver.
The documents included with the stamp is all the information that I have gathered. Every continuity, every cover-up, every clue that I could find. They all lead here. Something has been going on these few years. Something big. Something they don't want us to know about. Here's where you come in. I don't have the power to change things, but you do. Alongside the documents are plans. Plans for a meeting, one of great importance. You have the resources. This information I have provided to you. I hope you can put a stop to all the scandals. I just hope it isn't.
Mimic. ¿Qué pasó?
Ahí decía un coso de diario, decía que el Kroll estaba tomando poder de una antena de radio.
Verga. Alto Lore tenía el frasquito mal, boludo. Se están contagiando todos, sí. Creo por lo que estoy entendiendo es que los Vita Carnis los bichos estos están tomando el control de la humanidad. De a poco, ¿no? Puede ser como que de a poco están tomando toda la humanidad, básicamente. Por diferentes lados. Es como una invasión. Como una invasión por diferentes puntos. Está bueno, boludo. Está bueno el lore.
Es buenísimo.
Mission brief. Three ground teams are tasked with infiltrating a previously abandoned mall titled Facility Zero, which is located in the restricted zone based on our info.
Verga.
The mission will take place in 3 stages: infiltration, encirclement, and ambush. Primary objective is to capture the facility and seize the items of interest for extraction. Numerous armed guards are located within the facility. Avoid detection and keep up your guard.
Ah, van a ir donde está el Singularity, ¿no? Donde lo
En
tenían,
eso.
sí.
Alpha Team, in position.
Ese triángulo es un
Beta
monolito.
Team, in position. Gamma Team, in position.
El equipo especial de
Beginning
Fallujah.
phase 1.
Eyes on the point. Clearing pathway now.
Eso es una planta esta, ¿cómo se llama? Un
cosechador.
harvester.
Pathway cleared. Give us the green light.
¿Será que el Singularity es el núcleo de todo? El que le da poder a todas las demás
Begin
cosas.
phase 2 in advance.
Y por
Si
eso
es
están
uno solo.
por eso están intentando. Es como Venom, boludo, el Singularity. Es una sola cosa. Bueno, es una teoría. Y esta base está toda respaldada por Los bichos
Los
estos.
monolitos que ahí están.
Los monolitos, los harvester, todo.
Cosechadores, todo.
Claro. Claro, sería como la colmena. Che, está bueno el lore, me gusta. Tiene alto lore.
Lights off. Come on. Move. Keep your distance. Single file.
El arma de Juan.
Verga, está el monolito.
Halt. In position. Awaiting green light. Eyes are secure. Turning blind. Lights green.
Están re duros.
Copy. Green light is a go. Begin phase 2 in advance.
Hay algo que todavía no me quedó claro de todo esto, una sola cosa. Que vamos a ver si en el final me lo responde. ¿Qué es el Gmod, boludo, del arma? Se le quedaron muriendo todos los compañeros, ¿no? ¿No había cadáveres ahí?
Sí. Aunque no entendí si habían dado guardias o algo.
Creo que eran guardias.
Breach in 3, 2,
Los grabados de cerebro.
breach.
Ah, no, ellos también sí, eran guardias.
Eran 7 entidades ahí.
Verga. O sea que F. No pudieron hacer una mierda. F humanidad.
Vita Carnis.
Cada singularidad tiene un monolito. Ah, mira. Temporada 1. ¿Ya terminó?
Yes.
Ok, hay algo que no me quedó claro. Estuvo muy bueno, el lore buenísimo, amigo, alto lore, altísimo lore. ¿Quiénes eran los que vendían el coso este de sabor? ¿Y por qué lo hacían? Eso no me quedó claro.
Hay un lore de fondo que es literalmente un frame en cada video. Son 10 páginas. O 9 páginas, no me acuerdo. Que te cuentan una historia toda críptica de un príncipe rojo que está herido y quedó encerrado en una isla y que otras criaturas lo encontraron y lo alimentaron hasta que se hizo fuerte y logró llevar a los amarillitos a una nueva era de prosperidad y qué sé yo. Y hay humanos que formaron un culto que interpretó la historia como que la Vita Carnis,
claro, era el futuro,
y la hacían crecer si la alimentaban y los iba a llevar a la humanidad a la siguiente era de progreso, ponele.
O sea, por eso había un grupo de humanos locos que querían ayudar a Vita Carnis a...
Claro, pero también es por dos lados. Están los que son parte del culto por ellos mismos, tipo los altos, los de alto comando, los del gobierno, etcétera, y después están los que agarran las esporas esas por el sabor y quedan como descerebrados.
¿Qué decís? ¿Los que lo hacían para vender, para llenarse de guita? O sea, los loquitos. ¿Los loquitos?
Todos los de culto son los que tenían el símbolo ese de coso, el círculo negro y el triángulo rojo. Son parte del culto ese. Que vendían, por un lado estaban los que hacían videos falsos dando consejos malos o tratando de venderlos como no tan graves.
Sí, después estaba la empresa, sí.
Después estaba la empresa que vendía el coso de sabor. Después estaban los militares, los del gobierno, que ocultaban toda la pista de peligro con él.
Claro, pero cada uno tenía sus intereses. Ponele, la empresa quería guita, los de culto querían mejorar el mundo, sus pensamientos, y el gobierno
lo ocultaba todo porque eran parte del culto también, la mayoría.
Ah, eran parte del culto.
Está todo conectado en ese culto que quiere que las Vita Carnis sean...
Sí, este era un loquito del culto. Claro, y de a poco iban dominando todo, con mascotas. Esto que te enseñaba era para que los adoptes.
Claro.
O sea, todo tenía un porqué y era todo para potenciar el...
Mientras más progresen las Vita Carnis en vista del culto, mejor para nosotros.
Bueno, está bastante bien. Estuvo muy bueno. No, me gustó mucho el lore, boludo. Muy buen lore, posta.
A mí me gusta porque es como que mezcla también lo del el hongo este de The Last of Us. ¿Cómo se llama?
Ah, sí, el Cordyceps, sí.
Que es literalmente eso. Que el video ese que te muestra hormigas, ¿te acordás?
Sí.
Te está tratando de explicar que
el Cordyceps.
los del gobierno están contaminados, corruptos.
Sí. Estuvo muy bueno. Bueno, cuando salga la Season 2 completa, la vemos. Pues no voy a mirar un videíto de 4 minutos y después salen 10 más. Cuando esté completa...
No, por ahora no salió nada más.
Ok. Sí, a día de hoy estamos actualizadísimos. Cuando haya más contenido, tipo una horita y media y no 10 minutos, hacemos todo.
Sufriré de nuevo.
Sí, a Pato le toca sufrir de vuelta. Bueno, y este es el último video de la semana de terror, el último video de Halloween. Pero bueno, subimos varias cosas copadas y terror va a seguir habiendo en el canal. Así que no se pongan mal porque terror va a seguir habiendo. O sea, solo que no va a haber terror todos los días.